Okay, today let's take a look at the new digital tin for the Smart Aquaculture platform for fish populations. So what I'm going to do is go to my VS Code, go to the Smart Aquaculture platform and start this up in development. This should be working. Okay, so, or I may not have committed these changes yet. Let me check its status. Yeah, we got to commit these changes. These are still in development. But with the platform started up, you can go to localhost 10230 and go to a fish population and go to the shrimp fish population here. And simulation stopped because I've restarted my computer, and I'm considering um, adding a job or something that can restart simulations that have stopped, but we can do it manually if we uncheck this and then check this again. So what's happening now is the problem we had before was that we had big decimals, but they were only up to 2 decimal places, so 133.57. And then because the change of the incubation days now over time is such a small number, this value was never changing at all. It was just staying 133.57. But in the code now, thanks to some new features in the compute8Spine programming platform, we can go to fish population incubation days now and change the precision of this big decimal to 16 digits. And it will update. It'll handle much bigger decimal values now. So these numbers are changing over time. It's an event-driven thing where every 50 milliseconds or every half a second, it goes and updates the incubation days now. So we set the number of days of incubation to 133 days. But that's going to take a long time. And if we're developing a digital twin, we might want to make that smaller. So I could make this 0.0000. Let's change this to stop the simulation and make this 0.001, 0.001. Oh, let's see. Oh, this number thing isn't letting me change. So I have some HTML validation stuff to figure out because it didn't let me specify a decimal value number. Let me see what this is. Clearable placeholder type number. So let me check the WebAwesome docs for input component. See if we can fix this number. Decimal. Oh, okay. Input mode tells the browser what type of data will be entered by the user, allowing it to display the appropriate virtual keyboard on supported devices. So what if this was decimal? It has a type number. So do fish. Let me close some stuff, close others. Fish population. Search form. This is what are we trying to change? Incubation days now. Days now. And this attribute is input mode. Decimal. So does that change things now? What was it? Incubation days now. Want to change it to 0.001. Still got some validation. Data, input mode decimal type number. Type number. There's date, daytime, local, email, number, password, search, text, time. URL, default text. If I change this to text, I'm gonna refresh so the form. What were we changing this? Incubation days now. 0.001. Okay. And then we restart the simulation. Where's that? Simulation. Oh, here it is. Incubation days now. That I don't know why that switched to the number 9. 0.001. Okay. Well, yeah, so still a little quirky, but we're working on it. It's a work in progress. But the goal is to be able to make it so that the population changes over time, either increases or, well, it would increase as new fish are born and decrease as fishing boats pass through the fish population and decrease the fish population over time. So that's what we're trying to simulate here. The previous population is 10,000. And when this number reaches 0, that means that incubation is done and a new batch of shrimp are born and increase the population. So at least we have the big decimal working. We just have to work with playing with incubation on a shorter time span than it actually takes, because I don't want to spend months waiting for my simulation to complete to see if it works.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, Chris, do you have any variable in there for temperature? The temperature of the water?
Right. We do not right now, but
Okay.
if we have some research that explains how temperature can affect a fish population,
Hmm.
then we could play with those kind of parameters.
Yeah. Because they're saying that the ocean is warming up and some species are moving north to cooler water, like the stone crab. And if they either adapt or they die, you know.
So temperature, so let's just add something like that. So this would be another big decimal value. So if we're doing spine programming, um, let me check that we have our spine programming working. So this is my watch service for Smart Aquaculture code. So what I'm going to do is add a new section here. And because everything in spine programming has an order, it helps to um, add an order to things. And I'm trying to
Would
keep
you call that a vertebrae stack, or is that a pun?
right. So I've been calling them discs, but I'm
Okay, good.
still kind of decide on the right
The right man.
terminology here,
Yes, yes.
because each of these things are part of the spine for a fish population. All of this is declared in a certain order, but we can actually reorder things in the user interface from writing some comments like this in the code. HTML row, HTML cell. So fish population, these are based on these initial things are based on parameters provided by the FIWARE Smart Data Model community, who've already defined something called fish population. And so they defined address, alternate name, body mass, cultured in, data provider, date created, date modified, fish removed, initial number, owner, ref species, related source, see also source. Um, they defined all of these fields as a smart data model, but what we're doing is extending it, and we can contribute this fish population data model back to the FIWARE community with our suggested values as well.
Hmm.
So area served is something as well that they provide, but here's where ours begin. Maturity days begin, maturity days end, incubation days begin, incubation days end. This is part of our digital twin. Incubation number min, incubation number max, percent population pregnant min, percent population pregnant max, populations at birth, populations now,
Hmm.
incubation date. So now I'm adding temperature, water temperature, and it's going to be a big decimal, and we'll make the display name water temperature. We mark it as doc values, which is a search engine thing, and how it's going to be indexed in the search engine. We say persist true so that you can save the value of this number. It's not auto-calculated. It's something that we can set in the user interface. Um, the water temperature can affect fish population. Um, what's the phrase? What's the what's the thing? like mortality rate,
Mm-hmm.
fish,
Um, mm, survivability.
sur
Um,
fish population survival.
mhm,
Um, so that could be, if we have some research, we can
mhm,
um, add this to the equation here. So I'm gonna order these in the same row, row 7, cell, well, let's see. Here we already have cell 12. So
yeah. And then a lot of scientists they also like to use the term ocean acidification. That's the ocean becoming more acidic or low air sometimes the fertilizers coming off of the farms, create low oxygen in the water. And, ooh, I sound like a fisherman. And the just the health of the ocean sometimes, because there have been algae blooms, and the algae blooms are starting to become regular, and those algae blooms have arsenic in the like they really been hitting the Caribbean, but they've taken the seaweed and started making gas out of it, but
hmm.
still the fish got to deal with that.
Yeah, um,
But is that pollution or is that climate change? Ooh, that's a delicate thing.
yeah. So so yeah, those would be additional parameters. Pollution,
Mm.
um, pollution markers. So what are the IoT devices that can report on water pollution, ocean pollution that could affect our digital twin? That's stuff we would want to
Yeah, we
figure out.
gotta we gotta figure that out. Cause the 3GPP, like that little buoy we had at Red Hat, that one works in Europe, but it didn't work here yet. Those standards haven't come over here. Um, so it's still not here yet to have that smart buoy here. And the hardware is hard to figure out. And people see looking like they custom making them and not making them free and open.
Yeah. Yeah, so we do want to track that stuff.
Mhm.
So let's add a new water temperature metric to this fish population model. So I save this, and then the spine programming watcher service or watcher agent um, notices that fish population was touched, and it will go regenerate the spine programming to adapt this new data model with a water temperature metric. And now it tells us that everything's been generated. But whenever we add new classes or metrics to things, what we want to do is rebuild the Smart Aquaculture API, because this is something that's persisted and we got to add that field to the database. So we rebuild the Smart Aquaculture API now, and it's a quick run in VS Code, and everything's set up with the Smart Aquaculture developer course. And what we get is an updated database create. For some reason, these changed orders. Let's see. But what was added here was some new fields for previous population and water temperature. So through spine programming, we were able to auto update our database create scripts and our open API spec, which added water temperature as a field. So, um, so that's exciting. All we have to do,
That's amazing. That's amazing.
yeah. Um, this is the advantage of spine programming, and it all happens on your own computer. So then we run this now, and what's cool is it's going to automatically create that new database field in the database table. And then what we can do is restart the Smart Aquaculture platform and fish process failed to decode. Well, okay. Something about the Plaquemine Parish import process has changed and the GIS data is like in a different format now. Maybe they don't want us importing their data, but something changed. But we're not worried about that right now. What we want to see is that our shrimp population now has a new metric for temperature, and it does. So here's a little box for temperature, and it doesn't previously have a value unless we go and update something, and then it'll auto-populate the default value, which I set to 60 in the code. So if I, let's see, so it says 60 here. So if I go and update something like, it's not letting me. I got some form validation that's not happy. Okay, let me just refresh this page because we got to fix that form validation. I just want to change 50 to 51, and then we should see a default water temperature. Yeah, okay. So it did update that to 60, but we can go and change that to 70. And then if we refresh the page, then that updates. Let's change it to 71. And then we can go to the API here and see temperature data, water temperature data 71. And we can go back, we can update this to 72 and then refresh our data here and water temperature goes to 72. So this is now persistent. It's stored in the database. It's also stored in the search engine. We were very easily able to add that metric with spine programming so that we can use it in our digital twin.
That's awesome, man.
And I still want to understand what's going on with this fish population in US Gen API service simple. If we do set incubation days now, this is where it's updating things in the database. So if I go and change this to 0.0001 or change this to 2, what is happening? So incubation days now is getting set to 2. And then we start simulating this, and then it starts counting down from 2. But we currently can't change it to a smaller decimal value. So that's something I'll have to figure out how we can do that with the WebAuthn web components, because for some reason I think it's the web components that are blocking me with some kind of validation on those. But there you go. That's our fish population digital twin. in development. Did that make sense? Any questions?
Very, very, very powerful.
Very much. I just was wondering, but we don't talk about species.
Okay, so up here, I gave this fish population a name, and then this is so this field is dedicated to the species.
Okay.
Oh, but it's a big decimal field, so that doesn't make any sense to me. So if we go to github.com/smart data models and we go to smart, let's see, it's in smart agri-food, aquaculture, fish population. This is the source, and there's a model.yaml. So species. Okay, so this is how it's defined. Reference to the species, and it's a type number, and it's got some kind of relationship.
Okay.
So I don't know what this is referring to, but there are probably better ways to reference a species. So like species of shrimp. How could we better,
Or shrimp.
there's like names and then there's like scientific names. So we could get into that kind of detail. But currently our data model doesn't account for that. Um, so if we have, so we have a name. Wait, where's the name defined? I guess name might be defined in the map model. Let me check. Name. Yeah. So we have a name field. If we wanted to add to that, HTML row 4. Okay, so we might do, I think here, in our fish population, we specify the name here. Area served, not model. Area served, no. Area served is 4.1. Wait, HTML row colon. Numbering in spine programming is tricky but flexible. So here, location is specified as cell 0. Color is specified as cell 3. Name is specified as 0. Description is 1. So that doesn't really make sense. I probably should update that to be 2. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. And then here, we want to fix the ordering of these things. So let's do this as cell 4. And then this one will be cell 5. And it's going to be scientific name. And then scientific name, the scientific name of the fish species. Let me just check. What is the plural and singular form of species? species. It's both. Avoid using species for biology. Okay, so I just wanted to check because maybe Fireware has it spelled wrong. But the scientific name of the fish species doesn't need a new title, row title of itself. It's going to share one. It's not going to be, well, it could be a column, but this is fine for now. It's not the var name because that is dedicated to this name here. This var name has a specific reason in spine programming, and it represents the name field of this model. So we're not going to create two of those, or it's going to throw an error. I don't think we need this facet true. It's not useful. So then we add the scientific name field and
Chris,
Mhm.
I was thinking you also have two dual use cases. One is your incubation, of the wild card of when they get pregnant. But I think the same process happens in like a shrimp hatchery, for aquaculture. But it's just artificial in a tank, But it's the same process, I would imagine. But everything's a lot more controlled, you know.
Yeah.
Different market, but the same thing. No pollution, but yeah, a lot of use.
Yeah. I think this is applicable about
For
farm
aquaculture
raised
and for,
and
yes,
ocean.
yes. Mm-hmm. Very applicable.
Because we would want the same kind of healthy parameters across all of the fish
Mm-hmm.
species, whether they're farmed or ocean raised.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So we can rebuild this API, which will update our database create script. So down here. So when this happens where one thing disappears and appears down below, this happens when you get the ordering of things where you have duplicate spine programming orders and they kind of jump around in the ordering. And so it's easy to make mistakes, but it's very flexible and you can fix those mistakes over time. But now we have a water temperature. We have previous population. We also have scientific name as a text field. So now we can stop and start this again. And then we can give our shrimp population a specific, oops, ran the wrong thing. I rebuilt the Smart Aquaculture API. So now I'm going to restart the application. And we can pick one of these shrimp species. So shrimp species in Louisiana. Brown shrimp. Let's see. Brown. Brown shrimp. Okay, so here's an example. So we come to our fish population and we give this a new name, brown shrimp. And then the scientific name we can put here to be more precise. Oh, wait, I go here. And then when we look at the API, whoops. Oh, this got a new name. So it changed the URL to access this. So watch what happened here. If I, whoops. Let me reopen this and go back. If I refresh the page, it says no fish population found. So what I got to go do is go back to all fish populations. And here's our brown shrimp. And now it has a new URL, brown dash shrimp. So it calculated that automatically based on the name. Which happens in the it's got this ID field that generates an ID off of the name. So that's kind of what's happening there. And oh, and it didn't update the scientific name, so we got to repaste that in. And now it actually updated. So if we go to API, then we search for this, it now appears in the scientific name field, the API for this. So that's a good suggestion. Now we have a little more details about the species that are available. So thanks for that suggestion.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions about this?
Awesome.